Pakistan's consular access sham is our top focus story on the broadcast. News just coming in. India has been denied unhindered access to Indian national in a Pakistani jail, Kulbhushan Jadhav. And we are now being told that India has lodged a strong protest with Pakistan. India said that Pakistani officials were intimidating. Their presence next to Kulbhushan Jadhav was intimidating. Pakistan denies justice to Kulbhushan Jadhav, and Imran Khan's double-speak stands exposed. Pakistan is in violation of the order of the International Court of Justice on consular access. Why is this? Because Pakistan failed to provide unimpeded, unhindered and unconditional consular access to Kulbhushan Jadhav. Pakistan remains in gross violation of the verdict of the International Court of Justice on consular access, and I will get you details on the broadcast. I'm Gaurav Sawant. We will also tell you about the latest about India-China standoff at the line of actual control and get you images of Taiwan's live firing exercises. And Kulbhushan Jadhav has been denied unimpeded consular access in Pakistan, and this Pakistani sham is our top focus story on the broadcast. So India was denied unhindered access to Kulbhushan Jadhav. India has lodged a strong protest with the Pakistan government on this. India has gone on to say that the environment was not conducive. Pakistani officials were stationed in the prison very close to Kulbhushan Jadhav, and this was intimidating. I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan for more on the story. Geeta, take us through the details. Where all did Pakistan violate the ICJ order?
Well, it is very unfortunate because this was a very crucial meeting that was to take place, not just about consular access, Gaurav, but also about taking forward the review petition that needs to be filed in a civil court in Pakistan. And that could not happen because Pakistan and Pakistani officials did not allow a decent conversation to take place between Kulbhushan Jadhav and the two Indian officials. Now, the violations were on many counts. One, the most important one, because all the others are only point scoring by Pakistan about language, so on and so forth. The only main agenda item for India, the two main agenda items were that two officials be allowed and that the access be absolutely unimpeded. Now, what we're given to understand, despite distorted facts by Qureshi on various media channels of Pakistan, what we've been told is that there were Pakistani officials present in that sub-jail, the little place in an undisclosed location where the two Indian officials were taken to meet with Kulbhushan Jadhav. And in that space, they were intimidating. They were standing very close to Jadhav and the officials, so Jadhav really could not speak, and he was absolutely stressed out. Despite the protest being lodged over there, Gaurav Ahluwalia and Ziliang kept insisting that they be given space. It was not allowed. They had asked for no video recording, but there were video cameras that were placed and were being recorded. So nothing could have been done. The Indian side walked out without getting a written consent from Kulbhushan Jadhav, and that in itself could mean grave injustice for Jadhav and a violation of ICJ, because a review petition needs to be filed only after his written consent, and that really did not take place today.
Okay, principles of natural justice violated in Pakistan. Geeta, keep tracking that story. I will come back to you for more. But for the moment, I want to shift focus to the other big story we're tracking here on India Today, and that is the detail with which China war-gamed its incursions into Ladakh. It's now been established that China cannot be trusted. As PLA troops pull back from various flashpoint areas in eastern Ladakh, India Today has learned that China had actually been wargaming intrusions for years. How? We will show you a life-size replica of Ladakh's terrain and landscape 2,500 kilometers away from Aksai Chin in central Ladakh. So PLA soldiers were training. This standoff was strategically planned. This is an India Today exclusive.
A bloody crisis. followed by a gradual disengagement. But the Ladakh standoff at the peak of a deadly pandemic was anything but spontaneous. India today has accessed the original blueprint of the Chinese aggression. The PLA's incursions across the LAC have been strategically planned. 2,500 kilometers to the northeast in China's Ningxia region, a hotbed of China's wargaming against India, a startling, accurate model of the Ladakh region. This is the world's largest sand-scale landform. Man-made mountain ranges, lakes and rivers of Aksai Chin. This model of Ladakh's topographic features in arid plains was built in 2004 and developed to precision over the years. This to prepare the PLA for the actual intrusions on the difficult terrains of the Himalayas.
China's PLA lacks combat experience. It has not fought a war since the North Korean campaign. This shortcoming in combat experience, the PLA tries to overcome by having more training exercises.
This open-air model is located in the jurisdiction of China's Western Theatre Command. It's so huge that it's visible from the space. Nestled in the lap of the Helen Mountains, it details the entire eastern Ladakh and all Indian claimed areas. Barracks for troops to stay. Tents for PLA soldiers trained in hand-on combat. Administrative infrastructure. Semi-circular patterns. Deployments bear an uncanny similarity to the Chinese build-up in the Pangong Tso area. A glaring illustration of China's strategic intentions.
With such intentions of China, India has to be very wary of whatever disengagement takes place and whatever happens in the talks. India has to be very, very cautious.
Nothing really offhand about China's bare-knuckled fist fights. Its premeditated ambitions unfolded layer by layer in Ladakh. Bureau Report, India Today.
So let me now get you the latest from Ladakh. India and China appear to be taking baby steps towards disengagement. Talks are on military level and diplomatic level, and these will continue. But the Indian Army says that the process is intricate and very slow. China's pullback needs constant verification given the high level of mistrust. Total disengagement in Ladakh is still quite some time off. Abhishek Bhalla in Leh with this report.
The Chinese army has thinned out its deployment between Finger 4 and Finger 5 on the north bank of Pangong Tso. After more than a 14-hour-long meet at Chushul in Ladakh, both the Indian and the Chinese commanders, Lieutenant General Harinder Singh and Major General Lin Liu, reviewed the progress of the first disengagement process and discussed the next step towards total disengagement and de-escalation at the 4 flashpoints in Ladakh.
As you know, has that entire policy of salami slicing, and now China does not want to vacate out or go back to its previous, what India demands, that it goes back to what was the position in May 2019. Now China is trying to pressurize India to accept their claim of, especially in Pangong Tso, that instead of Finger 8, they are going to be up till Finger 4.
The Indian Army spokesperson issued a statement saying the senior commanders reviewed the progress on implementation of the first phase of disengagement and discussed further steps to ensure complete disengagement. The two sides remain committed to the objective of complete disengagement. The process is intricate and requires constant verification. The Chinese side too spoke of steps being taken to disengage in Ladakh, saying that the two sides achieved progress in further disengagement between the border troops and easing the situation at the boundary. So far, the Chinese forces have moved back completely at the Galwan Valley Patrol Point 14 and have reduced their presence both at Patrol Point 15 and 17A. However, given the high level of mistrust, the thinning out process is extremely slow at the north banks of Pangong Tso.
Where finger 5, 6, 7, 8 have not been cleared. This was an area which had neither the Chinese nor the Indians earlier. This was an area where both sides patrolled. At finger 4, they have thinned down, but the reports of their having totally cleared are not there. So I'm a little skeptic about the Chinese really being committed to what they have said.
In New Delhi, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat and the Army Chief General Manoj Naravne reviewed the progress of talks. India remains firm that China must move back beyond finger 8 and restore status quo ante as on the 2nd of May 2020. The confrontation at Depsang Plains in the north will be addressed separately as the focus remains on complete disengagement, de-escalation and ultimate de-induction of Chinese divisions to their peacetime locations.
There has been a lot of progress since the first Corps Commander level meet that took place on the 6th of June, but the Army has made it very clear that the process of disengagement involves a lot of intricacies and everything needs to be physically verified on the ground. From here onwards, the big focus will be on the Pangong Lake, which still remains a tricky issue, and in time to come, once the disengagement has happened from all friction areas, the focus will shift to de-induction of troops as well as artillery and tanks that were brought close to the line of actual control. With camera person Satya Abhishek Bhalla in Leh for India Today.
And India Today's Abhishek Bhalla is standing by at Leh. He joins me with the latest. Abhishek, as Defence Minister Rajnath Singh heads to Leh, what's the latest situation? Sources seem to indicate that there is some thinning out of the Chinese troops from finger 5, some movement towards finger 6, but how reliable is this information? Give us the latest from each friction point.
Gaurav, I've just got an update on the current status of disengagement, and it's quite interesting. We've reported that there was partial disengagement as far as Pangong Lake as well as PP-17 Alpha is concerned. The exact details are with me now. As far as Pangong Lake is concerned, there is a distance of about 4 to 5 kilometers between the troops of both sides on the bank of the river. But as far as the ridge line is concerned, the troops are only about a kilometer away from each other. So on the ridge line, there is still close contact, eyeball to eyeball confrontation, one can say. As far as PP-17A is concerned, a similar situation, emerges over there while there has been a disengagement. But both the sides continue to have about 40 to 50 troops in a proximity of 600 to 800 meters away. Again, very close to each other. As far as Patrol Point 15 is concerned, sources say the disengagement seems to be complete over there because there is a distance of 8 to 10 kilometers between the troops. And even Patrol Point 14, which is the Galwan area where that bloody clash took place on June 15, things seem to be under control. The troops from both sides about 3 kilometers separating them. As far as the Chinese are concerned, they are 1.5 kilometers behind PP-14, which India believes is the line of actual control. So this is the current status. Important day tomorrow once The defense minister will be here. He will interact with troops. I'm told he will have an interaction with the Ladakh scouts, the sons of the soil. That's very important because these are the young boys who will very soon be perhaps at forward areas at the line of actual control in days to come.
Fair enough. Keep tracking that story. I will come back to you for more. China faced heat at Galwan. China appears to have pulled back in some areas, but there are still miles to go. But China is facing the heat in another area. Let's now shift focus. Taiwan's Air Force fired air-to-ground missiles. Their Navy submarines, for the first time in over a decade, fired a heavyweight torpedo, which, according to the Taiwan government, hit the target. The Taiwan Army beat back an attack as part of this exercise. The message in Taiwan's live firing exercise is very clear. China, beware.
Assault helicopters launching missiles. Fighter jets dropping bombs. Mock enemy targets being pounded. Tanks and missile trucks firing in tandem. Taiwanese soldiers on Thursday fought off simulated coastal assaults from China. The 5-day drill is aimed at testing how Taiwan's armed forces would repel an invasion from its giant neighbor.
National security has never relied on bowing down or bending the knee to the enemy, but relying on the most solid national defense. And all our military officers and soldiers are at the core of national defense.
China regards Taiwan as a breakaway province that is part of its territory, and it minced no words in expressing its displeasure at the war exercise.
You should ask the Defense Ministry about military drills rather than asking me. But I saw some reports that said Taiwan seems to be flexing their muscles to mainland with their military drills. They bite off more than they can chew if they have such ideas.
Taiwan is just one of the growing number of flashpoints in the US-China relationship. The South China Sea is one of the world's busiest waterways. China, Vietnam, the Philippines, Taiwan, Malaysia and Brunei remain entangled on overlapping territorial disputes. But with US flexing muscle in the region, tensions are reaching a tipping point.
We will then go use the tools that we have available, and we will support countries all across the world who recognize that China has violated their legal territorial claims as well, or maritime claims as well. And we'll go provide them the assistance we can, whether that's in multilateral bodies, or whether that's in ASEAN, whether that's through legal responses. We'll use all the tools we can.
With $5.3 trillion worth of trade cruising through its waters every year, the South China Sea continues to remain a flashpoint between several nations uniting against Chinese hegemony.
Taiwan's live-firing drills, Indian Army's massive deployment in Ladakh and in the northeast, United States with 2 supercarriers carrying out freedom of navigation operations in South China Sea, with both the UK and Japan set to join the US, sends out a very clear message to Beijing. China's expansionism will not go unchallenged, and democracies across the world will come together to counter it. With cameraman Kripal Singh in Delhi, Gaurav Sawant for India Today. Every time China's in trouble, it falls back on a client state, Pakistan. That's right, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan is now boasting of building Pakistan's largest dam with Chinese assistance. But this dam is being built in Indian territory in illegal control of Pakistan, in Gilgit and Baltistan. India has objected to this, but with a belligerent China, Pakistan is pushing ahead despite protests in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and in Gilgit.
Pakistan has started work on the controversial Daima Bhasha Dam in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit and Baltistan. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan visited the dam site with Pakistan's Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa and boasted about building the biggest dam in the country's history.
आज हमने इसकी बड़ा फैसला किया है। एक ऐसी पाकिस्तान की तारीख की सबसे बड़ी डैम अब हम बनाने जा रहे हैं। दयामीर बादशाह डैम इंशाअल्लाह ये हमारे मुल्क की सबसे बड़ी डैम होगी। आप ये समझ लें कि ये हमारी तीसरी बड़ी डैम होगी। जैसे जैसे ये डैम बढ़ती रहेगी, बिजनेस एक्टिविटी बढ़ती जाएगी। ये जब लेक बन जाएगी बड़ी, ये अलग एक टूरिस्ट रिजॉर्ट बन जाएगी।
The dam on River Indus is expected to generate 4,500 megawatts of power, according to Lieutenant General Asim Bajwa, Information Assistant to Imran Khan. China, after initial reluctance, has agreed to build the dam, despite India's objections. India has strongly opposed the construction of the dam, with the MEA spokesperson insisting the entire Union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh were Indian and an illegal occupation of Pakistan, and therefore the construction of the dam was illegal. There have been widespread protests in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and in Gilgit and Baltistan over Pakistan government's decisions to construct at least 3 dams on the Indus and Jhelum rivers.
पाकिस्तान की मुसलसल ये कोशिश है कि किस तरह से गिलगित बल्तिस्तान के अंदर इंक्रोचमेंट करके उसके इलाकों को खैबर पख्तूनख्वा में शामिल किया जाए। गिलगित बल्तिस्तान के गयूर अवाम किसी तौर भी भाषा डैम की तामीर को कबूल नहीं करेंगे। एक ऐसा डैम जिससे गिलगित बल्तिस्तान के अवाम को 1 मेगावाट भी बिजली मैसर न आएगी, बल्कि इससे पैदा होने वाली सारी बिजली पंजाब के कारखानों के लिए इस्तेमाल की जाएगी।
The construction of dams in Pakistan has been mired in controversies, including paucity of funds and inadequate compensation to those displaced by the dam. Activists have also objected to the construction of such a huge dam in high seismic activity zone.
While Pakistan and China continue to violate India's territorial integrity, India has maintained that it is a violation and any area that falls in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is a part of Indian territory, expecting a strong protest from India when it comes to China and Pakistan. In New Delhi, Geeta Mohan for India Today.
Well, that is all we have time for on this special broadcast. Many thanks for watching. News and updates continue on India Today.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.